Hi everybody, my name is BreadTheLoafington, and this is a bit of a different video.
Yeah.
You'll have to excuse the side comments that are made. My beautiful assistant is helping me off camera to make sure that I stay focused and I don't dilly-dally too much. So today's a pretty important day in Nintendo history. Today is the release of the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, I feel the need to clarify that this is not a sponsored video. I'm in no way sponsored by Nintendo. Nintendo has not shilled out money to me. However, if they want to, I'm more than open to just taking $1 million for any sort of promotion that they may want to do. So, yeah, I guess let's not dilly-dally too much and get this thing unboxed, huh? The nice thing is that I got these little, I Survived Switch 2 release day cards, as you can see. They're nice, I like them, and I got them from GameStop. I pre-ordered through GameStop. Initially, oh my god, I feel like I want to talk about this just a little bit, even though I know it's a tangent. But my pre-order process was a bit of an experience because of the fact that initially I wanted to pre-order it through the Nintendo website, but then they had a bunch of specialty things. They had like this whole thing going on where it was like you need to be like a 12-month member, you know, a bunch of other shit. Suffice to say, I did not get my pre-order through Nintendo. And then I tried pre-ordering it through Amazon, and they just were not sending me the invite at all. Nintendo and Amazon both failed to send me the invite, so I just said fuck it, and I pre-ordered in person at GameStop. So here's the box. Check it out. A Mario Kart sticker. This has a hefty weight to it. This is a bit weighty.
Yeah, this has some pretty good weight to it.
Yeah, it's got some good girth, doesn't it? You wanna be a peach and look for my silver knife on my desk somewhere? Actually, wait, hold on. I don't think I'll need it. Oh, yes I do.
You got a knife there.
I got several dozen. I don't know why I asked you to get me one. But yeah, I'm still pretty excited. Because this is the first time that I'm getting a launch console. Wowie zowie, would you look at that?
Yay, look at that.
This is a lot bigger than I thought it would be. Actually, like, genuinely, like, look at the size of this thing.
Wow.
It's ginormous. Like, I have my Switch 1 here for comparison, and yeah, the pictures weren't kidding. This thing is ginormous. You know, I'm kind of staggered, to be honest. So apparently, there's, like, supposed to be a little plastic sheen on this that you can remove, but it's recommended not to in case it breaks.
Oh, yeah.
In case, like, the glass break. Whoa. Whoa, I thought I felt like the HD rumble in this already. I was like, there's no fucking way.
There's no way it's on. Yeah,
I was like, there's no fucking way. Wow, look at this, though. Hot damn. Jeez, look at the size of the game card slot. This thing's ginormous compared. I like this. I like this part a lot. The little, like, clip-in. Like, I like it a lot. Just on merit that I thought the Switch 1 case, or the Switch 1 game card slot was really flimsy. I like this one a lot. Wow. Whoa. Wow. I'm sorry, I'm just, like, blown away by this. Like, wow.
It's like Christmas.
It really is. Wow, you gotta get a feel for this. Like, wow, these feel really good. These feel great. I like the sound. I like the feel, too. Whoa! Wow, that's impressive. That's hard. Yeah.
Ooh, I'm experiencing the feel of this now. Wow, that's stuck in really nice.
Yeah.
Wow, this is fucking huge.
Right?
I like the buttons a lot, personally. I like the way it clips in. The joysticks I want to test out in a game.
I'm a little disappointed about this. You know, download code. Not crazy about that.
Oh, it's a good little pull to it. Okay.
Kind of? Not really, though. Like, it's a decent pull.
Yeah, well, I was, like, pressing it lightly, and I was like, oh, okay, you really have to press these in. I like the way that feels a lot more.
Yeah, right? It feels a lot more, safe.
Than just than sliding it in.
Right? Well, because another problem that I have, right? I don't know if you have this problem, but when I'm playing on my Switch, I guess you wouldn't because you have the Switch Lite.
Yeah.
But, I'm always tempted to just push these tiny little dots on the back, right? And the console will just slide out of my hands.
Yeah, right.
The thing that I'm most curious about, here's the cable, HDMI cable. It's a fucking HDMI cable. Here's the little grippy things. You know? Yeah, you take them, you put them on, and
you can hold? Oh,
yeah.
Wow. And then the mouse?
That actually feels pretty okay. Apparently they've designed it so that it's supposed to feel really good on your lap, too. See, this was something that I was like, oh, is it gonna come with this? I'm glad it does. I'm glad it comes with the little charging thing.
Yeah, as somebody who is very sensory orientated, this is very interesting to put on your lap. I agree that it feels great on your lap.
Oh, this one isn't a charging grip. Okay, weird. I could have sworn I would have thought this one was a charging grip. This is a big fucking controller, though.
Yeah, that is.
Oh, it actually doesn't feel terrible, to be honest. Like, all the button placements feel pretty nice. I'm sorry, I'm just still like, wow, this is a fucking big console. For a handheld, this is huge.
And so this is a controller, like to be...
Yeah, that's the controller.
Is it weird that I feel like it should have been a little bit bigger?
I think, yeah, if they'd spread out the wings a little more, it would have been fine.
That's what I'm, yeah, kind of thinking about this.
This is the big mademoiselle of the entire thing. Here's something that I'm not crazy about with the dock, is that this is just something that comes off. I liked the hinge on the Switch 1, but this does actually feel a lot higher quality than the Switch 1 dock does. About the same weight, but by and large, right, this one does feel like it has a better quality build to it. Like, both are made with fine plastic, it's just that this one kind of feels a little haphazard. That's so surreal to me. I'm like, wow, I can't believe they just fixed the problem with the fucking sliders entirely by just removing them. That's a really satisfying noise.
It is very satisfying. It's very clicky. All the buttons feel great.
I like that the buttons are quiet.
That's kind of what I thought too. Is the buttons are quiet.
It's about time that we do the piece de resistance. I've already gotten this fucking thing dirty. Impressive. Impressive. Whoa, holy shit, that actually has like resistance to it. It's like, this thing's flimsy and a piece of shit. Like, I hate the kickstand on the Switch 1. And look at that fucking range. Like, you can use it as a drawing tablet. That's insane. I cannot believe that their next big innovation that they thought about was, fuck it, Joy-Cons? Make them a mouse. That's an insane thing to be like, yeah, fuck it. Well, these, I think, are a pretty nice addition. I'm not sure how they'll play effectively, but I'm excited. I hope to fucking God that they don't do the same shit they did with the Joy-Con motion controls and the HD Rumble and shit, where they just kind of forgot about them after a point. Really surprised by this. Really pleasantly surprised by all the new additions. Still really disappointed about the C button, because I cannot believe they added a button that you have to pay to use. The mouse things, like the actual mouse feel is pretty good, the buttons feel pretty good, I like the sounds of the controllers, I like the sounds of the console. The actual speakers in this thing are a fucking miracle, comparatively to the Switch 1. And another little thing I don't know if you noticed, they actually added little rubber pads to the bottom of the Switch, so that when you are playing it in tabletop mode, it's not just the console resting on the stand, or on the table. You know, that's a really good detail. They really listen to the consumer complaints about the Switch 2, or about the Switch 1. I'm really pleasantly surprised by this. Well, do you want to set this thing up now?
Yeah, I want to play.
Alright, let's get going then.
Mario Kart World!
So for those who weren't paying attention for the last 8 minutes, I got the bundle version of the Switch 2, hence the Mario Kart World sticker. And since I don't want to pay $100+ for upgrades I don't really need, as a result I have no other real exclusive games to showcase this console with. Quick sidebar here, guys. Welcome Tour is an unglorified Switch 2 hardware showcase, and it truthfully should have been bundled into the console, the same way that Face Raiders was on the 3DS. I did not and will not purchase it because everything I've seen about it, even the most glowing praise about it, has not convinced me that it's anything close to being worth the asking price. That's all. I've not had a lot of history with Mario Kart, to be honest. Of course, I have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but outside of that, I really haven't played much of the series. I've tinkered around with Mario Kart Tour, and I've played Mario Kart Wii very rarely at other people's places. So, earnestly, I don't have a lot of experience playing Mario Kart. So this is the first time I'm really able to play a Mario Kart on launch. And I kept up with the trailers and showcases and whatnot and was moderately excited. An open-world Mario Kart is a really interesting concept, and it was the first time that the tag of an open-world exploration game really engaged me, because it made me flash back to my childhood playing Disney Pixar's Cars for the Nintendo GameCube, a common theme with this console having a GameCube nostalgia focus. Either way, long diatribe short is that the focus game for today is going to be the next innovation in the Mario Kart series. And this is such a strong opening for the Switch 2's life. Mario Kart World takes the series off of the self-contained tracks and expands them into an interconnected web of roads and backstreets to create a new, interesting way to play the game. Through the free roam mode, You can just drive around at your leisure, doing little side quests to learn the tricks and fun mechanics that are available throughout the game. The free roam is such a strange concept for a Mario Kart game, but it's an evolution that I'm honestly all here for. I love party racing games, and moreover, I love exploring a large area with a bunch of little things that I can or cannot choose to do. This is what I bought the game for, baby! Eating copious amounts of burg and driving recklessly on the highway. Yeah, baby! Woo! That's what I'm talking about! Yeah! The main point of the free roam isn't exactly to recreate family-friendly vehicular recklessness, but instead just a way to freely explore the very interesting tracks and world that they've created. Finding things to do, such as hitting P-switches, mystery panels, or finding Peach medallions. The P-switch missions can range from stuff like collecting blue coins in a small area to performing a series of tricks to look cool, or just a simple road race around a short block. Really basic stuff, but interesting enough to keep you driving around to find more of the blue switches. I've plowed through a bunch of these, and a lot of them are definitely ones you need to have a solid grasp of how the tricks and jumps work in order to do them effectively. But nonetheless, they're really fun, and I always give them the old college try at the very least every time I see one out in the wild. Another thing hiding around the map are these little hidden question mark buttons that I am completely unsure of what they actually do, if they actually do anything. But they're scattered around the world, and some of them are really hidden. One even utilizing the classic Nintendo whatchamacallit of hiding things behind a waterfall. Very clever, guys. Other stuff kicking around the game are these Peach medallions. Basically rewards for exploring the free roam. And then there's also Nabbit in every major area that you can chase around to get a bunch of coins to unlock more vehicles. Really quick sidebar here, guys. They've swapped out all the kart and bike customization in favor of preset karts like the games of old. And it's cool, I really like it. I feel like the lack of customization allows for more wacky, silly, zany vehicles. Like my personal favorite, the Rob Hog, a bike styled after the robot made for the NES game Gyromite. A personal top 10 robot for me personally. Anyways, that's all. Last thing for the free roam I'll mention is the costume unlocks. Obtaining delicious looking food from Yoshi's Dash Food joints, you can obtain some silly, goofy, zany, wacky outfits for each of the main player characters. It's really fun and kind of honestly addicting running past these food stalls to see what new costumes I'll unlock throughout the game. The nice part is that this isn't just restricted to the free roam, you can unlock them in practically any game mode that lets you run past these food stalls. And these food bags can also give you a small boost as well if you find a new costume, so it's actually optically beneficial to use these during the races too. Speaking of races, let's get on with it, shall we? The races differ from previous installments due to them being more like rallies than actual races. A lot of the tracks are more so about getting from point A to point B over seeing how many laps you can complete in the fastest time. However, the third and final lap of each rally is usually an actual race, as it's taking place in an enclosed track instead of on open road. The Grand Prix is as expected, a series of 4 races across the continent through 4 locations. Each cup uses its own set of tracks, and none of the 32 areas really have any overlap. It gets interesting because at least one of the 3 laps is taken up by actually getting to the track. For example, in the Mushroom Cup, the second race starts by racing off of Mario Bros. Circuit and driving to Crown City, which takes up 2 of the 3 laps. Which I don't entirely know how I feel about. It feels a little cheap to not let people do the full 3 laps at a track, but it's also really cool and sets World apart from the rest of the series, only doing 1 race across the track, and then 2 others actually getting to the track itself. Double-edged sword, I guess. The same applies to the Versus race. In the menu, you select which track to start at, and which one to finish at, meaning you're not actually picking the track, but the path between. And that makes for a more interesting and unique experience, but at the same time it is a little confusing the first couple of times playing. I had thought we were going to use the first track for a race, and then run to the next one for a second race. But instead we were just racing to the second track. A little weird, but not too difficult to adjust to. But yeah, overall, the Versus Race mode is really fun to play. I like using Frenzy items at 150cc because it makes the game just a little more chaotic. Something else a little chaotic is the Knockout Tour, something newly introduced into Mario Kart World. One of the things that piqued my interest in the game, as it's effectively a racing battle royale mode. Because every game needs that these days. 24 racers, 6 races, each race picks off the last 4 spots of the competition until only 4 remain. And it's a really fun challenge, truth be told. It's the real stress test to see how well you're able to maneuver around the new tracks and how well you're able to keep top speed, which is a lot harder than it looks. At least for me it is. The trick system is still taking a bit for me to really learn, but I'm slowly learning. What's helped me learn both the tracks and the tricks is the time trials mode though, which remains pretty much unchanged from previous games, but is still a fun challenge to see how fast you can really go through certain tracks. Last thing I'll chat about for Mario Kart is the battle mode. Something I don't have much vested interest in, but despite that, it is a lot of fun to play. Balloon Battle's basic goal is to pop as many balloons as possible, and preferably keep as many of yours as possible. Though, it's more important to pop others than your own, it's where you get the points from. It's a fun challenge to participate in, and they've picked some of the more visually interesting tracks to use for the balloon battle. And, of course, it's better with a friend than it is by yourself. The Coin Runners mode is much more fun in my opinion. Same goals basically, but a different method. Instead of popping the most balloons, it's about collecting the most coins. The more coins, the more points you score at the end of the match. There's more of a thrill to attacking people for their money instead of just popping balloons. I can't say why. Generally speaking, I think Mario Kart was a bit of a weird choice to make the launch title. It's also a very, very strong opening to the Switch 2, especially compared to how Breath of the Wild was for the Switch 1. In terms of an open-world game showcasing the hardware capabilities, it looks and runs fantastically. The music is awesome, the gameplay is really addictive, and for me personally, the open world just begs to be explored. I can see myself playing this for a very, very long time. Before I end things here, I'd like to actually discuss more aspects of the Switch 2 that are unrelated to the games made specifically for the console, alongside some other additions that were announced during the Switch 2 showcase. Because the Switch 2 is, and I quote, 10 times more powerful than the Switch 1 according to Nvidia, pretty much every game from the Switch 1 gets a native boost even without some dumbass update. I've not got many examples to show, but I do have some, at least what I believe to be, really good examples. Minecraft on the Switch had some really egregious world generation times, taking about 22 seconds to create a world, while the Switch 2 takes almost half that time, which is such a nice improvement, alongside the render distance and graphical improvements and other general stabilities, which makes the Switch 2 version, in my opinion, the definitive mobile Minecraft experience, as the classic controller scheme on the Switch 2 is miles, and I mean leagues better than whatever the touchscreen provides on phones. Another very popular game that got a very worthwhile update was Fortnite. This update not only improved the graphical and render problems that the Switch 1 version had, but it also included support for the mouse controls of the Switch 2, specifically for aiming and menu navigation, which, holy hot damn, that changed the entire experience for me. I'm not very good at aiming on controller, but the mouse function of the Switch 2 is an absolute game changer for me. But with that, the mouse isn't perfect for smaller movements like a computer mouse is, but it is good enough to get some good kills in Fortnite. Suffice to say, I like the mouse controls a lot, and it makes me interested in seeing what other games utilize it and how it goes for them. Other first-party games like Link's Awakening got a small update to work better on the Switch 2, and it really shows since Link's Awakening specifically has a spot in the main town that causes a noticeable dip in performance, and that just no longer happens on the Switch 2 and I didn't even notice. And that's awesome, I love that, so I'm definitely going to replay Link's Awakening soon just to experience it at a stable performance. A big huge criticism of Nintendo for the last 8 years, and specifically with the Switch, was how terrible and slow the eShop was, which they've provided an update to make it load a little faster on the Switch 1, but on the Switch 2, it loads practically instantly, without the need for any sort of a load screen, which is fantastic, and I'm sure there is now no other problems with the Switch eShop that I can think of. Another aspect of the Switch 2 that was heavily promoted was the use of accessories, like the camera and the fancy new SD card whatever that's now out. I didn't get either of these because I'm not exactly crazy about game chat, and I probably won't ever use it in my lifetime, and I don't own or plan to own a lot of digital games. So I think that the storage space available in the Switch 2 is probably more than enough for me. Overall, I'd say the accessories are nice, but I'm also glad they're largely unnecessary. I'm not very interested in paying over $100 for a bunch of pointless extra stuff that I'm only going to use for one platform. Shut up. The last new service that I want to talk about for the Switch 2 is the highly requested GameCube Switch Online. adding GameCube games to the Nintendo Online Expansion Pass, and it's nice, I guess. I know everyone is excited and happy that the console is now available for the Switch 2 and all, and don't get me wrong, the controller looks very good and I will probably wind up getting it since I'm a huge GameCube fanboy. But I honestly can't say I'm exactly satisfied with the launch lineup. 3 games isn't very broad, and despite these being very good picks, I feel like Mario Sunshine at the very least would have been another game that should have been added to the service for the launch. It would have made it a bit nicer of a variety is all I'll say. Really quick sidebar here, guys. Nintendo has been progressively dropping the ball on the Switch Online service, and it's really starting to frustrate me. The NES Online service released with a whopping 20 games back in 2018 when it first released, and it seems like every console they've added to the service since then has released with progressively less and less games on launch, which I think is a little disappointing. On top of that, only about a year after the NES service was launched, they announced that they would not be doing monthly updates anymore. And now it's so few and far between that it feels more like Nintendo forgets about the Classics service until it's time to promote a new game. I'm just saying, if it was updated more frequently, I'd probably be a little less annoyed. Anyways, that's all. That's all for the major stuff that I wanted to make note of for the Switch 2, but there was still a bunch of smaller stuff that I wanted to mention that I didn't really know where to fit elsewhere in the video, so I'm just gonna shotgun them right here and now just to get them out of the way. The Mii Maker only got a UI update and nothing more, which is a bit disappointing since Tomodachi Life is on the horizon and shown some new Mii attributes that I personally don't think would have hurt to put on the Switch 2 natively. The general UI is nice and I like that they've added some good accessibility features specific for people like me who are blind as shit. Game chat is a nice concept and I'm sure those that want it are pretty satisfied with it, but I don't think an entire button on the controller was justified. More so, I can't ever justify the fact that they've made a button you have to pay for. Fortunately, you can disable it entirely in the controller customization settings, but still, shame on you, Nintendo, come on now. I elected to bind mine to something that made a little bit more sense to me. A second capture button. GameShare makes a return from the DS and the 3DS family of systems, which is also very good. To my understanding, you don't need an online subscription to use it inherently, so people that want to play locally are free to do so, which is nice. Surprisingly, the microphone quality is a lot higher than I expected it to be, and it sounds pretty okay given what its main purpose is for. This is the microphone on the Nintendo Switch 2. Yippee! Last mini thing that I want to mention before this ends is that when you wake the console up from sleep mode, it makes a little noise, and I can't explain why, but I just really like it. I like it on the Xboxes, I like it on the PlayStations. I don't know why. I just like the little noise. Overall, I've gotten a lot of enjoyment out of the Switch 2 already, and it's only been out for about 2 weeks at the time of posting. And I've been playing Mario Kart pretty much every day since its release. So, suffice to say, I feel like I've got my money's worth out of this. But I also don't fault those for feeling like they won't or haven't gotten their enjoyment out of it yet. Problems aside, I think this is a very worthwhile console, and I have a very good feeling that we're going to see another 8 solid years of absolute bangers come out of Nintendo. And I'm sure a lot of modern franchises will see some form of new release on the Switch too, either in some form of direct port or a remaster of an older title, or some sort of spin-off title. However, this doesn't stop the entire console from feeling like it was released just a little bit too early. Between the mass misinformation train that happened in April that apparently we're still having to correct people about, such as the whole game key card thing, which was one of many things clearly not clarified enough by Nintendo, to the fact that for 2 months we had a very long list of third-party games that were not compatible on the Switch 2 until about a week before the console's launch. Another part that's really strange to me is that not even a whole week before they showcased the console, they had a very big Switch 1 Direct that had one of the most hyped games ever announced. So it all leads me to ask, why release it now? Is it so that they're not just immediately abandoning the Switch 1 due to the higher price point of the new console? I can't really say, but in its current state, even with the announced exclusives it has coming, I can't really say I blame those who are hesitant on buying it within the first year. If you're not crazy about Mario Kart, Donkey Kong, or Splatoon, or if you really don't care about performance upgrades, you're really not going to be satisfied with this console. Much less if you're not willing to pay an exorbitant amount for the new console games. Which, I also really can't blame people for not wanting to pay those prices. The entire reason I got the console was so that I could have a better performance for playing my Switch 1 library. I wasn't really sold on any of the launch titles either. Except for Mario Kart, I guess. Despite that, I myself personally have been very satisfied with the console, and I'm cautiously optimistic about the next 8 years. I'm sure that I'll be very pleased with the upcoming new installments in franchises I love, such as Paper Mario and Tomodachi Life, as well as potential new franchises coming out of Nintendo. Let's just hope Nintendo can keep up this momentum, because it's looking like it's going to be a very good year for Nintendo fans, even if they have to pay an arm and a leg to make that happen. But with that, that's going to be all from me today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video, whenever that comes out. Adios.